Hello and welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I'm John. I'm your host. You guys are the ones who give me the clues that help me do a lot of thinking of my own. So what are we going to be thinking about? I think we better get ready for shit hitting the fan, don't you? All right, when I filmed the two-part special with Chris, doing a look back and doing a look forward at things economics, things shit hitting the fan, we talked about oil dropping below $60 a barrel. Well, guess what? Today it dropped 7.75%, or yesterday's trading during the U.S. market, 7.76%. Incredible. It closed yesterday at $55. It's incredible. Oil is tanking. You know, a lot of times we talk about shit hitting the fan, financial, caused by monetary problems, because we're looking for, where did all this QE go? This quantitative easing, all of this cash that was pumped in, given to corporations, given to banks, but not given to us. Right? What did these corporations do with it? They bought back their own shares. Right? They gave themselves big, fat, juicy raises. But by buying back their shares, they increased the value of the stock. It pumped the market up. It's a balloon. We're worried about inflation. If cost of stocks go up, it's inflation. If the cost of homes go up, it's inflation. That's where the inflation went. But with the oil issue, we're looking not at inflation, but at a deflationary energy crisis. I personally am still digesting this and the other opinions I've heard on it. What can happen? This can cause disruptions in supply, the same way a shortage is, right? They're saying, well, there's just too much supply, so the price is coming down. How is that possible? We've got a couple of different ways. Number one, there's too much oil around because people aren't burning fuel. They're not going anywhere. Why wouldn't people go anywhere? Because they don't have the money to spend to go places. They don't have the money to spend to put in their fuel tank. Is that the case? How the fuck can that be the case if we're told this is the greatest market of all time? Well, one, it's not, but two, at the moment, it's not that bad. So what is with this glut of oil? Well, they're all pumping and producing. Well, guess what? Building a super tanker for oil does not happen overnight. It takes months and in some cases years. So where's all this oil? It didn't just show up, right? If there's only, let's just say, 200 oil tankers on the planet and they're all working their ass off, they can't work faster. They only do, 25 knots or so? 30 miles an hour? There's only so many of them going back and forth. They can't all of a sudden show up with extra oil. They can't overfill the tank. I mean, really, what are they doing? Towing large water balloons filled with crude oil behind them? Blobbing through the sea? No. There's not an oil glut. And they go, well, they're just pumping too much. There's too much oil production. Yeah. But the oil's in Iran. It's in Iraq. It's in Afghanistan. It's in Saudi Arabia. It's in Qatar. It's in Yemen. It's in Libya. It's in Syria. It's in Russia. It's in the United States. It's in unless it's in the refineries and there's too much of it, it's got to be back where they're pumping it out of the ground and sitting in holding tanks. So how can that affect the market? It can't. It can't affect the market. Let's just say I had I go to market every day and I take a truckload of potatoes, right? But today I've got 2 truckloads of potatoes. 1 truckload and the other truckload is on the ground sitting at my house. I can only take one of those to the market. I can't get there and everyone go, oh my God, you got 2 truckloads of potatoes. The price must drop. I'll go, no, but I only brought 1, right? So why is the oil price dropping? We have to think about this. Have the stock market, the economic issues we've been dealing with, are they natural or are they synthetic? Are they organic or are they man-made? Right? Is it a free market or is it manipulated? We are being manipulated yet again. The same with precious metals, the same with equities, the same with the bond market. There's a manipulation going on here. And instead of creating an oil shortage like we had in the 70s, where there were literal lines, even though, you know, if memory serves me right, I was just a little guy. We waited in lines because there was panic, because you were told you could only get fuel on certain days. And maybe someone will remember a gas station being out of fuel, but I really don't remember that. I don't ever remember my mom saying, we waited in line for 3 hours in the car and there's no gas now and we have to go home. Never once did that happen to me. Maybe it happened to you guys. I don't know. I lived in the South Bay area at the time as a small young man, Los Gatos, San Jose area. I don't remember that. But back then we had oil shortage, even though America was still working. But what did it do? It jacked the price of fuel up. It created the petrodollar. Eventually it stabilized, right? And we came out of that stuff. There was a 16-year, not bull market, but bear market running from 1966 to 1982. In the middle of that was the oil shortage, the oil embargo, the oil cartel development, OPEC. But today we have the opposite. Even though the Saudi Arabians are basically, they're running out of oil fast. We've hit peak oil. Oil is getting harder, more difficult to find, and the crudity, or rather the sweetness of the crude, is going down. In other words, it's lower quality, harder to get. But they're saying there's a glut. There's too much. So instead of an oil shortage and the price going up, we've got too much oil. And the price is going down. So instead of having inflationary problems, we're having deflationary energy crisis. What can that do, though? How can that affect us negatively? I'll tell you what, I filled up my truck yesterday. Or was it the day before? Anyways, I filled it up. I paid $4 a gallon for diesel. Now, of course, that's the California price. It's a little bit stiffer than other places. But still, it's outrageous, and it has not come down. The highest I paid, I think, was $4.75 at the beginning of the Obama administration, when we had an oil shortage. And oil, I think, was like $125 a barrel, or was it $145 a barrel? It spiked. They took the prices up to $4.75. I was like, if it hits $5 a barrel, I'm going to have to ride a bicycle right to the construction site. But here we are, with oil tanking. The last 3 weeks, it's been dropping what normally we would call precipitously. But today, or yesterday's trading, saw it drop just about $5 a barrel. You know, it's 7.79%. Almost 8% in one trading day. And that was just the U.S. market. Massive drop. Why is everyone running from oil when it's actually in short supply as far as in the ground reserves? Right? If you knew you were going to run out in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you would start to see the value of that commodity going up because of its scarcity and its difficulty in coming out. Yet we have deflationary problems. You know, this channel, The Prepared Mind, is about shit hitting the fan. It's about what is going on in the world with our infrastructure, with our supply, basically supply of everything, food, energy, water, whatever it takes for our infrastructure, so that we can maintain our, the best way to put this is our standard of living. You know, you can't push us back 200 years in standard of living and say, well, you know, there were humans living 200 years ago. We're used to living this way now. So if you take that away from us, it's going to hurt. So we need to try and maintain that standard of living. What is a deflationary energy crisis going to do? Well, I'll tell you right now, when energy was $60, $65, $70 a barrel, the shale oil companies were screaming They're borrowing money to pay their debtors, right? People that buy their corporate bonds. They're borrowing money and going deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. They're zombie companies. They're not going to survive on $55 barrel of oil. They can't. It's impossible. These companies are going to have to go and file bankruptcy, which means all investors, if you've got a 401k, it might have a few of its toes in oil, energy. It's going to affect the whole market, though, because we're talking in the order of billions of dollars, tens of billions, and more than likely the aggregate amount of corporate oil bond debt is 100 billion, maybe 200. I don't have those figures. Maybe Steve St. Angelo will be kind enough to supply them to us, or someone else. I don't have the time to gather them, but I do know it's an awful lot of fucking money. And if you gave me, let's see, 1/100th of a percent of that, I'd be a pretty happy guy. Not the debt, the value, the cash. Anyways, we're going to have energy companies go out of business. Exploration companies, pumping companies, all of the if you understand what happened in Wyoming and the West, all of these shale drilling operations, they created boom towns. People were flooding to those places as part of the oil services network. They needed administrators, they need suppliers. They need people to sell, nuts and bolts to them. They need people to sell them clothes and food. Boom towns popped up everywhere. What happens to them when the money dries up and they go away? Right? They were building houses in these boom towns. They're going to become ghost towns. This is why I don't call shit like this creative destruction. And I know it's a broad term and it's applied to a lot of different ideas in the Keynesian model. I don't like Keynesian economics. You know, we create a big spending rush and that fuels the whole economy. Well, if we spend 100 billion, 200 billion, 500 billion in an economic sector, 500 billion, and you only get 100 billion out of it, you've wasted $400 billion. You haven't created anything. You've damaged everyone. Right? People have spent money and invested their time, their lives, and cash, and they didn't get as much out of it. You're supposed to spend 100 billion and get 500 billion out of it. That's how the Keynesian model is supposed to work, but it doesn't work that way anymore. We spent way too much money on energy, the shale, and now somebody or something, for some reason, which I am going to say is nefarious in nature, is pulling the rug out from all of these oil companies in the United States of America and around the world. And not just American companies, but Saudi Arabia? They're losing their asses. They're already, right? They had royal fights over control of Aramco, their corporation. Right? People getting arrested, people getting killed, people being disappeared. These royal peoples, that is. Right? And there are countries around the world. There's African nations that are pumping oil. Right? I think Congo down there in, Western Africa. And then you've got the North African nation of Libya and Egypt and up through the Middle East there. They're all supposed to be producing oil. Can't do it if it's not being purchased. So what is the purpose? What is the point? Is this a hostile takeover? Right? How can they do this? Well, what they do is in the stock market, they can drive the price down by shorting it, by flooding the market with paper contracts to drive the price down, the value down. And for some reason, what they do in a stock market or stock exchange reflects a business that actually has to pull a product out of the ground and make it into a viable finished product. To me, it seems like a hostile takeover. And it's going to cause problems. When companies go out of business, they file bankruptcy, they lay people off, boom towns stop, supply routes stop, everything comes to a stop in that one industry. And if that industry is big enough, it can affect the entire economy in a negative fashion. Guess what? It's coming right now. Shit hitting the fan is going to be fueled by things like this, a deflationary energy crisis. I've been watching this and watching and wondering. I know oil needs to be $85 and higher. I thought it'd get there because of necessity. that they would drive the price higher in order to save the energy industry. But no, they're going the other way. If they don't want to save the energy industry, they want to kill it. Why? Who benefits? Cui bono. It's something we need to watch and think about. Now, I am not rose-colored glasses, unicorn snuggling, bunny loving, tree hugging type of guy. I'm a bit pessimistic in my optimism. I'm a bit nihilistic. I'm a bit of a glass is 3/4 empty kind of guy. I'm not seeing a lot of good going on. We're getting closer to shit hitting the fan. We need to be preppers. And that's going to take us to the second part of this video presentation. The QAnon phenomenon. The plan. It's bullshit. Right? There were some interesting things that were happening, and maybe those things that I saw in the past that I thought, this Q thing might be real. It's worth watching. Right? Could have been coincidence. As in, if you throw enough darts at a dartboard, you're going to hit the bullseye every now and then and impress people. Right? But this idea of the plan. Right? Everybody on the internet thinks they know the plan. Well, Q is doing this and follow the plan. And the president's doing that. Believe in the plan. Sessions is doing that. Trust the plan. We're so smart. The Democrats are so stupid. These people are evil. These people are stupid. Right? We know they're stupid and we know they're evil. That doesn't make the QAnon phenomena real. Clever catchphrases like, where we go one, we go all. That does not make any of it real. Someone saying something with conviction doesn't make it real. Someone saying something because their heart is full of hope and joy and believing that the bad guys are going to be defeated. That doesn't make it real. What plan? I still ask you guys. I ask everybody. I did not get an envelope in the mail with a plan in it. I did not get invited to a super secret hangout meeting with Q plus the president and Q minus whoever the hell that is and all these Q characters. Nobody shared the plan with me. Why should I trust in something I don't believe in? It'd be like saying, trust the Rockefellers. Right? Crickets. Nobody's going to trust the Rockefellers. Right? Trust the Warburgs. Trust the Habsburgs. No! You don't trust anybody. Trust the Bilderbergs. No. Trust the Federal Reserve. Why? Why should I trust the plan? Nobody's told me what the fucking plan is. If I knew the plan and who the players were, well, we think it's the Pentagon. I know there's good people in the Pentagon. Well, we think it's the Trump administration. I know there's good people in the Trump administration. Trust Trump. To what? I like the things that I've been seeing on the one hand. On the other hand, where the fuck is Trump? Right now, we have Arizona gave up a Senate seat. Florida gave up a Senate seat. Florida's giving up what? A presidential, basically, linchpin. They've given up the governor too. Okay, every election, presidential, there's 3 major states that go to the Democrats. California, Illinois, and New York. They start every presidential election knowing that in the Electoral College they have 100+ electoral votes. What do they need to win? 229 or 272 or whatever the fuck the number is. They start out with 100+ point advantage over Republicans, which means the Republicans, they can't ever win those. You don't ever win California, Illinois, and New York. The Republicans can't. They just can't do it. Trump didn't do it, and he's from New York. They start out with a huge advantage. Republicans have a huge disadvantage. Florida is the swing state. Florida is key. Now, I'm not putting down Ohio and Pennsylvania, other important states and state groups and clusters and the Great Lakes states. I'm not saying they're not important, but Florida is fucking huge. And what they're doing in Florida right now in Broward County, there is a convicted criminal who is still sitting on the is in charge of the election counting. Whatever her name is, Snipes. She's stealing this election. If they can continue to do this, there will never, ever, ever be another Republican president if they steal Florida. Because once they know we can steal Florida this time, we can steal it every time. Guess what? They don't have to focus on Florida anymore. Not the way they have. They won't have to spend money in Florida anymore. Not the way they have. Right? They don't spend money in California. I haven't seen a presidential advertisement for California since Reagan. Right? The GOP doesn't spend money here. The Democrats don't spend money. They don't have to tell us who to vote for. We know California is going to vote Democrat. Same with Illinois. Same with New York. They want that for Florida so that then they can focus the next state. Ohio, Pennsylvania, the Great Lakes, the Carolinas. That's what they want to do. They're trying to lock this up. So the reason I switched over to elections is where the fuck is Q? Where is President Trump right now? He should have federal agents. Remember, he's the executive. He's the chief commanding officer, the chief operating. He's the big officer. He's the big executive. He should have the police down there, the FBI down there in Florida right now, cuffing people that they know have broken the law. They should be investigating. They should be overseeing. They should be looking at ballots. Not just a couple stupid lawsuits. They should be in there right now making sure this is not being done illegal. Getting the press in there to see what everyone's doing. But Trump isn't. Follow the plan. Trust Q. Trust the plan. Trust Sessions. Oh wait, I keep forgetting trust Sessions, but he's not there. The Unabomber. The Unabomber. The stealth bomber. He's the Nunya bomber. Because Nunya saw him do any bombing, and he's gone. They keep saying, well, there's this Huber guy, there's this going on, trust the plan. Right? But nothing important is happening. Oh, it's happening behind the scenes. Trust the plan. I can't because I'm not seeing enough. I'm hearing rhetoric. Well, fuck, I'm full of rhetoric. It doesn't fix things, though. You know, and here's this other part about QAnon. Everybody thinks they know the plan. Every time something goes right, little teeny bit, who steps up? QAnon steps up and says, oh yeah. And everyone gives QAnon credit for that. Right? They're taking credit for other people's moves, other people's activities. You see, Trump has a job to do. The Justice Department has a job to do. The Pentagon has a job to do. Investigators have a job to do. But that doesn't mean it has anything to do with Q. They're just doing their fucking jobs. As far as I'm concerned, they're not doing it enough. They're not doing it fast enough. They're not doing it loud enough. The reason I'm bringing all of this up is you don't need to trust Q. You need to trust yourself. You need to be a prepper. You need to have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You need your plan. Trust your plan. Way more than trusting the Q plan, because we don't know what the fucking Q plan is. If you trusted the Q plan, it would be talk a big game, get nothing done, take all the credit, and none of the blame. That's the fucking Q plan. It ain't happening, folks. When something goes wrong, they go, oh yeah, we meant to do that. Everything's right on course. You're taking credit for a failure and calling it a victory. Talk about a fucking screw job in the head, and people are buying it. They should be buying preps. We're going to hell in a fucking handbasket. You know, the R Syndicate, the Prepared Mind Syndicate, PMS, is more reliable of a weather gauge than Q. That would be guys like me, like Fourth Dimension, like Vaughn. It would be other prepper channels. And there's a lot of them. And I mean, you could watch The Reluctant Prepper. I like his show. He does a lot of economic stuff. You can watch The Canadian Prepper. He's been doing some really good stuff. I love Nate over there. He's a great guy. very intelligent. His only problem is he's Canadian. Love you, brother. Anyways, there's a lot of good prepper channels. They're part of the R syndicate, right? R comes after Q, right? We're actually telling you to take action that's beneficial for you, right? I would have loved it, really, in all truth. Trump was elected, this Q thing came up, and shit started happening. They're arresting people. They're arresting Comey. They're arresting Hillary, right? They've indicted Obama. There's a subpoena out for him. Obama's on the lam and running. Oh, fuck, I would love that. You know, I started getting a little excited when Brennan lost his fucking security clearance, had it yanked by Trump. And then Hillary gave hers up. I was thinking, okay, this is interesting. But it doesn't mean Q is real because those things happened. Trust our syndicate. It says get prepped now. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, a plan. Understand the world around you, the 10-mile radius around you. That's your plan. When shit hits the fan, you have a real plan that'll save your ass. Instead of standing outside on the curb with a fucking Q sign, holding your dick in your hand, wondering what happened when things go bad. And if there is a Q plan, if there's really a Q and it's real, he's getting his ass kicked. There's a chance for scorched earth by the banking cartel, right? By the uber elite corporate cartel, by the military-industrial complex that is against Trump. Because some are for and some are against. Right? I think some of these corporations are so greedy they would rather see the U.S. destroyed than to cut back on military spending. Do with a little less and be happy with it. But they're always gobbling up more. They're greedy and what? Selfish. You know, the plan. The plan is your plan. That's the whole point of going into this. We're seeing what? We had the president or former president of Wells Fargo Bank come out and say the Federal Reserve has to raise rates in December at the end. They have to raise rates because the president came out and told Powell that he's loco crazy. He's loco en la cabeza, right? He's loco. So what? He's crazy, and that since Trump said he is crazy and he better lower him, now Powell with the Federal Reserve has to raise them because he has to appear independent? Oh, you mean he's got a childlike ego and he has to do the opposite of what Daddy says in order to show the world that he's his own boy? No. If the real need was to keep rates where they're at and not raise them, then that's what Powell should do. But why did this fella come out with Wells Fargo Bank and say, oh no, he's got to raise them? Well, because they're going to get raised. I think the Federal Reserve wants to see the system come down. They want to see oil prices drop. They want to see the system come down. They want interest rates to go up. Why? Because that's how banks make money. Right? Everyone else wants to make money. So do the banks. I think they're ready to foreclose on the United States of America and most of the world. If they're globalists, and I believe they are, they want to see the world brought to its knees, begging for their fiat cash. Now, here we are. Hello, Q. What are you doing, buddy? The banking system is teetering. The stock market is still doing everything it's supposed to be doing on its way to the crash. We have big up days and big down days. We're not seeing steady growth. Right now, it's pretty funny. Even Kramer from Mad Money came out and was saying, oh, we got a lot of recession signs here. I think he's covering his ass. Because every other day he's a buy the dip, bull market kind of bullshitter. What do I say? Beans, bullets, bandages. Right? Get your precious metals. Blue steel, copper, lead, brass. You got anything left after that? Get some food. Right? Food. One of those necessary items. Let's see. Food prices. Right? In Turkey, up 29%. In Argentina, up 40%. In Venezuela, cool 1.5 million% increase in food cost. Those are countries that are hurt, that are dying. In fact, they're already dead. When you kill your plant, it takes a couple days for the leaves to turn from green to brown. These countries are dead. Dead man walking. Food. If our food right now, the government says it's up 3%. No, it's more like 6 to 10, depending on where you're at and what kind of food you like to buy. If we see our food inflation go up to 20%, 30%, can you afford it for one? What about if you have food preps now when food is cheap compared to where it's going to be in a year when we have more economic trouble? More economic trouble. The food you buy now and put away is going to be more valuable next year. It just is. It just is. So what I want everyone to do is I want everyone to think about reality and don't believe in a dream. Have a dream, work for a dream, but don't believe a dream. If you had a dream that it was going to rain Skittles, right, that the oceans were made out of Kool-Aid, right, and that everything was edible and delicious, kind of like Wonka World, right? Would you wake up the next day and step outside and expect that to be that way? Would you go take a bite out of your car tire and think it's going to be chocolate? Right? Would you go down to the nearest river thinking it was Kool-Aid and stick your fucking head in it? No, because it was just a dream. So we don't need to confuse dreams with reality. Have a dream and go, that's a nice dream, but let's get to work on reality outside that door. Outside that door. That way in Washington. That way in China. No reality. Have a dream, but no reality. Q is bullshit. And I tell you what, hey, if all of a sudden one day they arrest all the bad people, fuck it, they're done, arrested. All those scumbag pedophiles. If they stop all this election bullshit with the swing of a gavel and a judge and he says, enough bullshit, I've got all the proof right here, Q was real. Fuck, I'll step back and go, pardon me, I made a mistake and I'm happy to have done so. I'm happy to step back and go, I was wrong about all this. I was wrong. The deflationary energy crisis was good. I was wrong. Raising interest rates was a great idea. I was wrong. Lowering interest rates was a good idea. Whatever they do, as long as the bad guys go to jail and we don't enter into a Mad Max, Armageddon, apocalyptic, shit it's the fan scenario, I'll be happy as fuck to apologize. But for the time being, shit's getting worse. And I don't believe in fairy tales. Because I'm going to stick my head out that door in about 10 minutes. And I'm pretty sure that cotton candy clouds won't be floating by. You guys keep a sharp eye out. Watch the stock market. Watch the politics. Know what's going on in the macro. But remember, when things get bad, our world is going to become very small. It's going to be very small. 10-mile radius around your house. Know what resources you have. Know what people are there. Know who your threats are. Know who your allies are. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Have a plan. Have a backup plan. Right? Go to the preparedmind.club to get supplies, to share ideas. You can share ideas also on Facebook, Prepared Mind. You can share ideas on Patreon. Right? Use the resources we have here because our activity generates just enough income to pay for everything, right? And to keep me in fashionable t-shirts. Anyways, you guys be cool. Thank you very much. Leave your comments below. Tell other people to get prepared. Don't believe in fairy tales. Don't do it. Right? I mean, don't do it. Don't commit yourself to something that is untenable, that is not going to happen. Because you're just going to be disappointed, you're going to be hurt, you're going to be lied to, and you're going to realize it too late. If you're prepared, fully, watch the Q phenomena, see if it develops into something real. But my best guess is it ain't, because it hasn't. It hasn't produced. If these people are all-knowing and all-powerful as they claim to be, you and I would be seeing a lot more shit going down. Yes, we would. Right? Yes, we would. Trust the plan. Trust myself. Trust in God. Right? Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.